Perfect. Welcome everyone. Happy Open Innovation Thursday for everybody. Today we are visiting this new chapter of our weekly Open Innovation Thursday, the best 15 minutes in open innovation in all week, where we are having conversations about each of the chapters of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation that has been released in February. And well, we are moving forward little by little with each of these chapters. And we are very happy to do that because we are learning so much every week. My name is Marisol Menendez. I'm an open innovation practitioner and enthusiast, and I'm already loving the book because I've been reviewing it for 17 weeks already. And today we are going to chapter 16, and we are interviewing Andre Marquis together with us. Welcome, Andre. How are you?
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Where are you connecting from, Andre?
I'm actually in Boston today. So usually I'm out in San Francisco, out at UC Berkeley.
That's marvelous. I'm connecting today from Madrid, beautiful garden, summer evening, and enjoying the good weather. So it's a very good setting for us to have this conversation. And as we always like to do, Andre, can I ask you please to introduce yourself?
So sure. Let's see. I had a long career as an entrepreneur. So started a bunch of companies in kind of information, internet, decision-making, artificial intelligence, those sorts of things. And I actually have a few biotech pharmaceutical companies under my belt as well. Don't ask me why. When students asked me for career advice, I said, look me up on LinkedIn. I'm not sure my career was an arrow. But most of my startups have been successful, not all of them. But I think that's a good lesson in itself. And then for the last 10 years, I've been running the Entrepreneurship Center in the business school at UC Berkeley. About 5 years ago, I transitioned over to something called the Innovation Acceleration Group, where we help corporations really accelerate innovation and make it more strategic to their core business. And this chapter is really about this work in open innovation and accelerating innovation inside companies.
I was looking forward to this conversation with you because you are moving between this practice and academic world, which is a very nice thing that we always like to talk about here in this open innovation community that we have. You wrote this chapter called Strategic Acceleration of Open Innovation at Porsche. And when we read the summary, you also refer to Bosch, no, in part of the analysis, and you co-wrote this with Stefan Dierks, no? Can you tell us like a brief summary so later on we can get into detail?
Sure. I mean, it really comes out of this problem. So I'm an entrepreneur by trade. And so when you're an entrepreneur, you get to start your own organization. Of course, when you do corporate innovation, you're inside someone else's organization with their strategy, their business process, their metrics, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the work we've been doing with companies like Bosch and VW and Porsche is really systematizing innovation. So how do you really create a repeatable business process with common business metrics and decision-making frameworks? And that's kind of the first half of the article, is really about leveraging having a good, consistent digital system. The second half of the article is really something I think is actually more important, which is why the word strategy or strategic is the first word in the article title, which is if you are actually good at collecting information about your innovation process, the outcome, the customers you talk to, the strategy you test, you can actually build a system for foresight, meaning what are potential strategies I might pursue as a company, and can I do rapid testing to figure out which strategies are more likely to be successful in the future compared to other strategies or my current strategy. There is very little literature on this, I will say. There's certainly a whole body of competitive strategy literature, but most of that is built for the industrial age, where it's like, hey, we're going to buy all the available oil in the world and no one else will be able to control the oil supply. Therefore, we'll have a monopoly and be able to charge high prices. In the digital era, that's very hard to do. Customers can switch to a new product, as quick as going to a different website or downloading a different app. So that's really where it comes out of. The operational part of innovation is sort of the first half of the article, and how to use the data you collect from that to drive your company's strategy.
This is so interesting, and it's really well connected to my areas of work. I created the open innovation strategy for BBVA, the global financial group, from scratch, and we grew it globally. And so living this from within the company and understanding how to connect the open innovation strategy to the strategy of the organization and then scale it is certainly very interesting for many practitioners. And as you're saying, adapting it to today's realities, no?
Yeah. Yep.
You say here, I was looking at my notes, and it's the new corporate strategy paradigm, validation-driven strategy. What does this mean?
So, I mean, you can look at the corporations in terms of digital infrastructure have kind of had this progression, I'd say, since sort of the 1960s, 1970s, right? So the first thing was, how do we automate finance, inventory, those things? That was kind of the enterprise resource planning, ERP. Obviously, companies like SAP did great during that era of kind of digitizing the back office. Since roughly kind of the dot-com revolution, late 1990s, 2000s, the last 20 years has really been more about digitizing the front office, right? So doing digital marketing, customer relationship management. Now we're sort of getting into the era of product instrumentation. Do I know what my customers are doing with my products in real time? And so you can think about, we're now in an era where there really is essentially real-time data on how customers are operating within your system, but that stuff is still in silos, right? You have your Salesforce, you have your Google Analytics, you've got your, Instagram, Meta, Salesforce, Facebook, whatever you want to call analytics, and those things all sit in silos, run by different departments. So the back office has sort of been more brought more together, right? Your financial planning, your inventory planning, and those sorts of things all come together. A lot of your front office digitization about your the metrics for your current business model, still kind of siloed, still kind of getting there. But I think there's this new era of validation-driven strategy, which again really goes to the title of the article, which is, as you accumulate data on customers and customer behavior, you might start to realize what you thought was one customer segment today is really multiple customer segments who over the long term are going to have different needs. And so one of the things I mentioned in the article is transportation. So I work with a lot of large transportation companies, VW, Porsche, Bosch, people like that. And they're trying to figure out, well, in this new era of electrification, era of self-driving cars, these sorts of things where business models are changing, what strategy should we be pursuing? Is electrification coming to trucks? Is it coming to passenger cars? Is it coming to scooters? First, what business model should we propose? And so you can essentially, using the framework in this paper, build a set of hypotheses around your capabilities, your open innovation capabilities, meaning what can I do with my partners and people in my ecosystem? Who are my customers? And what trends are there out there in the world that are starting to change customer behavior? And again, in the idea of electrification, the first Tesla was a $100,000 sports car for enthusiasts. But as batteries got cheaper, as motors got better, as control systems got better, et cetera, Tesla was able to evolve this strategy of, we go from high price to low price, we go from niche market to mainstream market. And that would just be one example of a strategy you might test for a new technology, for a new capability, for a new partnership, is, should we pursue a high-end to low-end strategy where we're going to do a high-end product first and sort of evolve over time? What does that mean about which partners we want to have, which customers we want to have, what we do to make those customers happy? Or perhaps you could have a disruption strategy. So say you invent a fuel cell that is 1/10 the cost of existing fuel cells. So suddenly you can put fuel cells in a completely different place from existing, you could have them in cell phones or whatever. You could have a completely disruptive product. Well, the customers you want for that, the strategy you want to pursue to go into a completely new market segment might be completely different. And so you would have the product would have to have different parameters. Again, you'd be targeting different customers, you'd be selling differently. And so being able to have this strategic agility is really what the paper is about, is how do you have a framework for thinking about that? And how do you have a business process for actually implementing that? And that is what we're doing with Porsche and VW. And I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. But those are kind of the big ideas in terms of validation-driven strategy. Look at different potential opportunities for your long-term strategy, figure out what that means about the consequences in terms of customers, products, and metrics, and go test those using your innovation capability.
And the summary is a strategic agility, no, with all the
Exactly.
implications that it has for internal decisions. And yes, now that you've offered the last point I wanted, can you please explain or refer to the cases of Porsche or Bosch?
So I'll talk specifically about Porsche and VW. So VW ended up creating a new division, which they funded. What that division does is they look at all of the software capabilities of VW. Now, this is actually run out of Porsche. So there's a group inside of software consultants inside Porsche called MHP. And I encourage you to look up MHP in Porsche and see what they're doing in software. So the idea was, as VW globally, we have to have all of these software capabilities: inventory, warehousing, financial management. Now, of course, we're getting into product development with new green regulations coming on. Oh, how do we keep track of sourcing and carbon footprint of parts? How might we decide, this part is adding too much to the carbon budget of this car, we need a different product, or we need to source from a different. So there's all kinds of different, very complicated software capabilities that VW has to develop for themselves. Turns out that's a great opportunity to do open innovation, which is, we have these capabilities. How could we remix these capabilities to potentially create products for our upstream supply chain, those sorts of things, our downstream customers, or potentially even move into completely new customer segments? And so that's what this MHP division of VW is doing, is remixing their capabilities, obviously mixing them in with outside capabilities. AI comes along. Should we partner with OpenAI or Google or whatever? But obviously it's this complete mixing of capabilities to generate new strategic lines of business for VW. And so it's both a strategy tester. Where's the world going? Can we create new products with new customers? What does that tell us about the future and what new capabilities we need to be developing for VW? It generates revenue, and it creates new partnerships and a new ecosystem for software, whether that software is used inside of VW or, again, mixed into these products. So it's really strategy, execution, and open innovation, all as a repeatable business process. That's the key part. It can't be a one-off, one person, let's have a hero go out and do it once. It's like, this is an operational capability of our company that we can execute every day and train new employees how to do.
Which seems to be a counterintuitive. It's like creating a process of innovation, which usually is a unique moment. So, but it's instrumentalizing and maybe gaining a speed and resilience in the process, now adapting to these the challenges that we have.
That's really the key. So one of the things I'm very proud of is I co-created this group called Chorus at Eli Lilly. So they do drug development as an agile organization. Chorus just celebrated its 21st birthday. So Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical giant, literally has our traditional business process, big groups, committees, great for product improvements, those sorts of things. And we have our Chorus process, which is, if something's speculative, new mechanism of action, new drug type, whatever, we can put it in Chorus, small teams, outsource the work, test many, 15 or 20 times more options inside Chorus. The options that start to work, we can then move into the existing process and scale up. So how do you do a lot of rapid experimentation, but in the core business? Right? That's always the key here, is you want to have both. And I think the challenge that a lot of innovators at large companies work with is they think their job is to do innovation outside the core business. And I'm telling you, your job is to do innovation inside the core business. And so if you can create strategic agility and really answer strategic questions for the company, on top of being able to innovate at speed and quickly and fail fast and those sorts of things, that's a capability that companies really need to develop in a systematic way. And so that's really the passion I have for this project, is to make that something the companies can actually do. Again, you don't have to have heroes who hopefully can do it once and never do it again. So.
And the passion shows, Andre, by the way. I can receive it all the way to Madrid here. Any final call to action for practitioners, for academia? Any advice?
Yeah, so I would say read the paper and reach out. I think from your own work that using innovation and open innovation to impact the strategy of the company is a challenge. It's just like one of my first companies was a digital marketing company. And in the late 1990s, you would go to marketing executives and they would say, well, yeah, why does my marketing need to be digital? It's like I make a TV commercial, I put it on television, my car sales go up. I don't like, why does it need to be measurable? I don't get it. And of course, today you walk into companies and I mean, if you're sort of like, what are your measurements? They have entire, stacks of people and huge amounts of people optimizing their marketing strategy, which ad goes where, which customer segment, who's buying what, like it's just the water that we all drink that marketing should be digital. Strategy is not that way today. Strategy is still like, it's my great idea. I'm the highest paid person. This is my personal opinion about what we should do as a company. Really dangerous. And so I think strategy needs the same reinvention that finance had, than sales and marketing had. It needs that same digital reinvention. And any of you who are interested in this work, Marisol, I know you're interested in this work. Reach out to me directly, but I think we really need to figure out how can we really have this impact with companies and really start to drive the same sort of transformation that came to marketing in the 2000s to strategy in the 2020s.
That's an amazing call to action, Andre. We have lots of work to do as a society, so
Indeed.
we're here with this big challenge. Thank you very much for connecting us today with us, these 15 minutes of excellent conversations around open innovation. I can tell you, this is a very interesting mission I'm in. Each week, I think we open with this little time, just dedicating to it, we inspire and get possibilities, a world of possibilities around the world of open innovation. Thank you very much for your time, Andre. Thank you for everybody who is watching, and we will keep connected. See you next
And
Thursday.
thank you for getting the word out. Really appreciate all the work you're doing. So take care.
Thank you very much, Andre. Bye. See you in Berkeley this year.
Very much.
Bye.